welcome back. We are going to take a look at a sonata. It's marked Sonata number 8 by Ernst Gottleib Baron, a lute composer and lutenist of the Baroque period. His date's very similar to Bach, about 10 years later though, and so he was born in 1696 and died in 1760. We're going to focus on a piece called an Alemand, which is a German dance. That's exactly what it means. And it is the opening piece in this sonata. So for those of you who are familiar with lute suites and maybe violin partitas, you may ask yourself, so what is a sonata? Well, in this particular case, this sonata is very much like a suite. The word suite is a French word, and it is used to describe a collection of dances. Sonata is an Italian word, and in this case, it describes the same thing. There were two different types of sonatas in the Baroque period. Sonata da Chiesa, that be sonata for the church, and sonata da camera, sonata of the court. Of course, at the court, you'd expect to have more dances. And in the church, probably not dances. You might have a prelude, you might have an allegro, you might have a fugue, but you won't see anyone dancing any jigs at church. At least, I don't think in the Catholic Church. This Alemand is set as part of the sonata, and the series of dances that will follow will be an Alemand followed by a courant in an Italian style. So Baron is bringing in the title sonata, which is descriptive of Italian collection of dances, and he is also favoring a quick courant style. So the Allemande, since that's our area of focus, will be slower, more stately. And so the opening of the piece that you heard part of gives you a little bit of an idea of the character. Our focus is not to just teach you the piece, that's one element, but to focus some attention on what you can do as a performer and an interpreter of the music, and as a creative individual to make the piece more interesting by adding what would have been expected of a performer of this period. That is melodic embellishments, ornamentation, and a great deal of creativity. This is an unusual piece in some ways when we compare it to the Bach dances of this time frame. And so we'll detail some of that as we first take a look at the piece. And then what can we do to learn from the way that Baron wrote this piece to create that can add to the embellishments of the melodies. Okay, so first off, this piece has no sharps or flats in the beginning of the piece. It's in common time, which means 4 beats per bar. And as we already described, the tempo of this piece being that it's going to serve as the first piece of the set, and the next piece is faster, we will expect that this Allemande will be slower, more stately. Having said that, notice that the piece begins in A minor, and it begins in the middle of a scale. It begins on E, F sharp, G sharp, A. So at the beginning, if you were just a listener, you wouldn't know whether this piece was in A minor or A major, because you would hear E, F sharp, G sharp, A. So in case you don't know, it would be part of a melodic minor scale. We have 3 different types of scales in Western music. One is the natural minor, 2 is the harmonic minor, and the 3rd one is the melodic minor. Maybe I take just a moment to demonstrate those scales. Natural minor scale. Harmonic minor scale. And melodic minor scale. So having heard the three different types of scales, the way that this piece starts is on E, as you can see, and it goes E, F sharp, G sharp, A. And it's followed by A, B, C. Eventually it gets there, yeah? Oh, listen again. And the other part. So from E to A and from A to E is the shape of the beginning part of the melody. Okay, now if we take a little bit of a look at how he deals with the second part, you'll notice he takes a step back. He takes 3 steps forward and then a step back, and then another group of notes will go forward. So you have A, B, C, B, C, D, E. One more time. Okay, now if we look at what he's doing here, he's got a couple things he did. He's basically has an A minor chord, and he's making sure the notes that are occurring on the beat are mostly A, C, and E. That'd be part of an A minor chord. But the notes in between, those notes are what we might describe as passing tones, okay, or neighboring tones in a couple cases. So the key is that it's giving you a little bit of an idea what you can do if you see thirds. You could fill those thirds in and make something of a new melody. Also, notice how he deals with on beat 3. He wants to go from C to E, but instead of doing, he needs more than just quarter notes there. So he decides he goes back from C to B to C, then to D to E. So what sounds more interesting, this or this? Okay, that's a dumb question. It's obviously the second one is much more interesting. But this little idea is something that if you see that you're going to be going up a third, you could do that. You could take a step back and step forward. So we go 1 and then back and then 1, 2, 3. You can tell that could be done anywhere. Okay, we will take another look at this piece and see if that can actually be something we can insert into the piece itself in different spots, as well as filling in third. A brief side note, practicing scales is a very important part of your skill development, not just for the dexterity of your fingers, but also your ability to negotiate different kinds of patterns, to explore that. So when you practice scales, it's not just necessary to go straight up to scale. You can actually do patterns. So you could go up, say, 3 notes, then back a note. And as you practice those, you can then insert them in pieces of music when you're improvising. They can go the other direction as well. It's fun. So again, it works in stylistic pieces like this one here from the Baroque period. It can also work even in contemporary pieces of music. I'm going to play for you the transcription of the first 4 bars, roughly, and then an embellishment using some of the ideas that we talked about. Again, remember that the tempo of this piece is not too quick. embellishment. So just a few general observations that before we close. Embellishments in the style of the Baroque period. This particular piece by Baron is definitely worthwhile taking a good look at and enjoying. Typically, in a piece of the Baroque period by Bach, say for instance in a minor key, if it's in a minor key, it usually enters in the B section in the relative major. And usually the first section stays pretty much in the original key. So in this particular piece, Baron begins in the key of A minor, and in the middle of measure 12, about 3/4 of the way through the piece, he modulates to C major and then ends with an E major chord. And we would expect that the next section should be E major, but instead he goes to E minor. It's really quite beautifully done. So if we were describing this piece, you might say that it has at least one foot in the Rococo style, the new style that is budding in the middle of the 18th century. So in summary of what I just said, we start with A minor, and we have a cadence, 4 bars later, A minor. Then we have a sequence. Then we cadence in C. With an E chord, and then he goes to E minor in the middle, in the B section. I point this all out. This is not something that would happen in a piece by Bach. We would typically have started in the key of the minor, and then we would have cadenced in the relative major key, and then that section would begin in the major key and end back in the minor key. Okay, with all of this, I hope that you enjoyed taking a look at this wonderful sonata, the first movement of which is the Alemand, and I encourage you to consider adding it or studying it on your own. And so, we come to the conclusion of this lesson. I look forward to seeing you in the near future. Subscribe to my channel, like the video, and share it with your friends. Look forward to seeing you again soon.